It starts with the kind of setup that you require for performing the video stereography. You don't really need a big laboratory kind of a thing. You just need to have an instrument, either a remote recording system or an iGoogle which has an infrared camera like this with a customized notebook right in front of it and an interface controller which converts the signals into the digital signals, analog signals that convert into digital signals, and then you can begin the recording with various protocols, usually around 9 to 12 different protocols which are available to record nystagmus. These goggles are also available with the abnormal head rotation detection device, and simultaneously with the nystagmus you can also record the head movements. The video nystagmography would begin with the good centration of the goggle right in front of the moving eye. Either it can be done on both eyes simultaneously or you can do one eye at a time. And then you can select the protocols like a tracking protocol, seconds, spontaneous nystagmus, autocorrecting nystagmus to the right, up, left, down, and so forth and so on. The machine itself will tell you the presence or absence of abnormality in terms of the velocities, and it will tell you about the intensity as well as frequency. But there are few things which you will have to read it yourself, like this one. You need to have the differentiation of the quality of nystagmus. That means, in the first panel you are seeing pendular nystagmus, which can be seen in infantile nystagmus syndrome or more frequently in pathological nystagmus, especially when associated with certain additional features like asymmetric nystagmus or distributed nystagmus. You have the second panel which is showing a slow phase in a jerk nystagmus which is of accelerating type, which is quite typical of infantile nystagmus syndrome. Third very important thing that comes out of doing a video nystagmography is it tells you about the presence of latent nystagmus, which is now called as the fusion maldevelopment nystagmus syndrome, which has got very typical slow phase or as decelerating slow phase that you see over here. And last but not least, the linear slow phase with jerk nystagmus is more typical of vestibular nystagmus or neurological nystagmus. The video nystagmography would, in this patient, show up a slow decelerating phase as you see over here. And when you see this patient in the clinic, it is very difficult to differentiate this patient having a jerk nystagmus but no latent component because there is already a manifest latent nystagmus. So for this particular type of patients, when there is strabismus along with nystagmus, it becomes very important to do video nystagmography or any other eye movement recording, because correction of the strabismus can convert this kind of manifest latent nystagmus into a latent nystagmus, as you see in this particular printout of this past patient which you just saw. And post-operatively there is a significant reduction in the nystagmus or near evolution of nystagmus. Another important evaluation that you would do in a patient with video nystagmography done is look at the fovation in these patients. Fovation is within 5 degrees when the eye is in the slow phase, is the time when a meaningful vision is required, and this fovation time is related to the potential vision of this patient. And potential vision of this patient can also be calculated using NAFX or ANF. These are basically the qualities which can be either manually calculated or automatically acquired to find out what will be the effect on vision once you perform any intervention for these patients. Also, when a nystagmus matures, for example, a congenital nystagmus or an infantile nystagmus child comes at 3 or 6 months of age, you might see a pendular kind of a nystagmus, and as it matures, you will find it getting converted into a jerk nystagmus, and there is an increasing amount of fovation either with an intervention or with the maturity of the child. Video nystagmography will also help you to find out the kind of improvement that takes place in the patient in terms of the motor outcomes. As you see over here, this particular patient, before giving an eye drops, the brinzolamide thrice a day, after 1 week you find a significant reduction in the frequency and due to an improvement in the fovation, which correlates with the vision improvement that takes place in these patients. As Ramesh
आई होगी एक तुम्हारे पास।
The presence of this kind of nystagmus on the eye tracking, as you see in the 5 hours or 10 hours eye tracking in a patient who is keeping the head turned to one side, you can very easily figure out if the abnormality that patient has in the tracking behavior, which post-operatively after doing a Kestenbaum-Anderson procedure or an augmented Anderson procedure would decentralize, and over 3 months time you find the eye tracking to be significantly improved, vision is significantly improved, frequency and amplitude significantly reduced, which correlates with the child's overall visual function. It may not be just the visual acuity. The video recording of nystagmus is helpful to differentiate the kind of dampening in nystagmus that is taking place. Whether it is pure convergence damping that is taking place in the upper panel, as you see on the right side, you have the patient without looking at a near target, while following look at a near target, the patient is having a significant gaze damping. So you can utilize two strategies to improve vision in these patients: the Belmont strategy as well as the convergence dampening strategy by using an artificial divergence with the prisms or with the surgery. There are very rare situations where you have a head posture which cannot be explained, but essentially due to an eye problem, when the child's eyes are closed, the heads are straight, they don't have any other abnormality, but when you perform video nystagmography or eye movement recording, you may find a small nystagmus coming up. In fact, you may put this patient on your autorefractor and may also be able to detect a small nystagmus, which is probably the cause of the head posture, and this can be easily recorded on video nystagmography. So any patient who has ocular torticollis, it may be worth doing EMR. It's not only the video nystagmography, you can also do electro nystagmography. However, there are many advantages of doing an infrared recording rather than electrical recording. Let's come to situations where you would like to perform a neuroimaging or an ARG study in patients with nystagmus. In fact, the data shows that in around 90% patients who have nystagmus, whatever may be the frequency and amplitude and diagnosis of nystagmus, you have a chance that you will pick up a pathology in the sensory system or a neurological system in the anterior visual pathway. The most important features which should suggest you to perform an MRI or any other neurological investigation is presence of a seesaw nystagmus or a significant vertical component in a nystagmus or a pure vertical nystagmus. A patient who has got pendular nystagmus, which is of asymmetric variety or is unilateral or is associated with any signs of optic atrophy or optic hypoplasia, or in patients who have abnormal vertical cocaine, abnormal in the sense either up gaze is absent or it is absent in down gaze, I think you are definitely justified in doing a video imaging in such patients. This is a patient who has got small vertical pure pendular nystagmus. As you see, in doing an MRI, it reveals arterial malformation with hydrosyringomyelia. This is the kind of EMR recording this patient has. In the lower part, you see the nystagmus waveform, while in the upper part, horizontally, you don't have anything. And when you treat this patient, you can see very significant improvement that takes place from your EMR. However, the patient may or may not be able to appreciate the difference that is or improvement that is taking place unless you really increase the dose of memantine and give a high dose memantine for these patients. This is another video nystagmography of the patient who has got a significant vertical component which cannot be detected in a routine clinical examination. In clinical examination, it appears only a pure small frequency, low amplitude horizontal nystagmus, but when you perform an EMR, you realize there is a significant vertical component, and presence of vertical component in patients with nystagmus suggests that you should look at anterior visual pathway in more details. Patients having relative after-pupillary defect also should go for the evaluation either an ERG or more detailed evaluation of the fundus. ERG is a must in patients who have paradoxical pupillary sign. It has around 95% specificity and around 70% sensitivity. And how you evaluate this is you keep the lights on, look at the pupil, keep the slide light on the pupil and switch off the room light, and instead of pupil becoming larger, you will find it constricting. This is a definite sign of paradoxical pupillary sign, and this patient suffers from retinal dystrophy. We have picked up a significant number of patients purely based on paradoxical pupillary sign having a retinal dystrophy. Some patients would also have photophobia in patients who have dystrophy. It can be associated with other abnormalities, but which can be detected even without an ERG. Patients who have night blindness with nystagmus are likely to have congenital stationary night blindness or retinitis Like this patient who has liver spondylitis tumorosis with the large